the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Good evening, I'm Amanda Starantino. Mark has the night off. Voting ends in 1 week, and starting tomorrow, some voters will have a longer window to cast their ballots early. Today, the Marion County Clerk announced extended voting hours in the clerk's office. That means tomorrow through Friday, early voting hours at the City-County building are from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday and Sunday hours are 10 a.m. through 9 p.m. Hours on Monday, the final day to vote early, are 8 a.m. to noon. Again, this is at the City-County building only. In a statement, Clerk Mila Eldridge says, quote, extending voting hours in this clerk's office is the most I can do under current election laws to best accommodate Marion County voters. And this change comes after long lines at satellite polling places put the issue in the spotlight. Some people waited 7 to 8 hours to vote at those locations, which opened over the weekend. This was the scene today at St. Luke's United Methodist Church on 86th Street near Meridian on the north side. Voters tell WRTV they came ready to wait and had no plans to give up.
I got up about 9:30 and got prepared to come up here. Made a phone call first to see how far the line was wrapped around the building. And then I said, I gotta get on up here, make my vote.
I brought my coffee because I forgot my coat and I needed something to keep me warm, and a chair, which I really haven't needed because the line has been moving pretty consistently.
Well, many voters told us they checked IndyVoteTimes.org as a resource before heading to the polls. The new website tracks wait times for Marion County polling places in real time. Again, that's IndyVoteTimes.org. And tonight, the candidates for governor took part in their final debate before Election Day. Incumbent Republican Governor Eric Holcomb, Democrat Dr. Woody Myers, and Libertarian Donald Rainwater discussed a wide range of issues. One question the candidates answered: what is the role of government to address and eliminate racial disparities?
We can also start being more aware of the disparities in regulations and laws that adversely affect minorities and minority opportunities. And most of these things, again, are government related, because when government oversteps its bounds, it usually does so in a way that adversely affects the minority community. And we can fix that by having a governor who is actually working on that himself.
We need bias training for all of our officers as a routine part of their training. We need oversight of that very small percentage of officers that don't follow policy, that where accusations have been made. You know, the vast majority of our officers do exactly as they're supposed to, and they know that this small percentage is hurting the reputations of the profession. And yes, we do need decriminalization for simple possession, and we need to make sure that we legalize medical marijuana in the state and apply our laws fairly and equally.
I will appoint the first ever cabinet level chief officer of inclusion and opportunity and equity. The CEIOO, that's a mouthful, but they will be in charge of making sure that we remove any barriers, that we remove any hurdles and address those gaps. Economic empowerment will go a long way, but we need to be looking at housing, transportation, health outcomes, all the above, including our training, the ILEA, the way that we train our officers, and we will have body cams come next year.
For a more in-depth recap of the debate, go to WRTV.com and click on this story. And for more information about the candidates on your ballot and other resources for voters, go to the Vote in 2020 section of our website, WRTV.com. Now to the forecast. WRTV Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joins us now, helping you prepare for the day ahead. It was chilly out, Kevin.
It is chilly. Temperatures changed 4 degrees. That's it, from 43 to 47 today. We're currently at 45, sandwiched right in there. The low cloud cover still leading to some drizzle and some light showers, but prepare yourself. One of the changes for tomorrow, we should see a couple peaks of sunshine, about 10 degrees warmer Wednesday afternoon. Wind will come around to the southwest. Temperatures in the morning still stuck in the 40s. Should be 50 by noon. Again, a couple of breaks in the cloud cover, but I think our clouds will increase again toward evening. Enjoy the brief but noticeable warm up because kind of an unusual day on the way Thursday. We'll talk about 3 elements for Thursday that will make it a memorable day. We'll talk about that.
All right, Kevin. 2 Indianapolis men are working to improve the area they grew up in by opening a grocery store. Their neighborhood is also one of the city's hardest hit food deserts. WRTV's Cameron Riddle shows you why the owners of the Wall Street Market are not waiting on anyone to help their community.
On the east side of Indianapolis, a locally owned grocery store is helping fill the void in an area known as a food desert.
We have fresh fruits and vegetables, canned goods, dairy products.
The Wall Street Market grocery store has a little bit of everything. In the middle of a pandemic, Michael McFarland and his business partner, Marcus Williams, opened this grocery store near East 38th Street and Emerson Avenue.
Our motivation for starting this store was basically to give back to our neighborhood. We seen that the place that we grew up in didn't have access to fresh food.
The store opened on the 4th of July, and already McFarland says some of his shelves are empty thanks to a steady stream of customers. He says it's a clear sign how badly the area needed a grocery store.
People from the neighborhood, they love us. They love that we're from the neighborhood. They love that we're here helping and supporting them, giving them options, so they don't have to go all the way across town just to get a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk.
The lack of food access has been mentioned as a factor in the city's ongoing violence issue. This business owner says reducing violence and taking care of the community's needs goes hand in hand.
When people get desperate, they do desperate things. So, food is a necessity for life. So, if you starve somebody, you might do some crazy things that they might not have to do.
Both Marcus and Michael will tell you the future for this store and this community is bright. And they're not waiting for Kroger or Walmart to come in and save the day.
We're right here right now. Wall Street Market could be the next Walmart or the next Kroger. With the support of the city, this could be something that could go globally or worldwide.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
The Wall Street Market is open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. on East 38th Street. A group in Noblesville is determined to let their city leaders know how they feel about proposed plans to put a gravel pit in one of their parks. BEAVER Materials is working to get Noblesville's approval for this project, but those against it are hoping they can get it stopped. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker shows you both sides of this issue.
It's a Tuesday night in downtown Noblesville, and dozens of people have come out with signs, their message loud and clear. They don't want the gravel pit in their neighborhood park, Potter's Bridge Park.
We have nothing against the Beavers or their company. We don't want any business to have a problem growing. The only issue we have is the location.
Rachel Raymer is one of many people leading this charge.
There are 600 properties within a half-mile distance of this gravel pit, and economic impact studies show that it could negatively affect property values between 20 and 30%.
They list that, along with health, safety, and ecological concerns, on a website that plays off the company's family name, don'tleaveittobeaver.com. But I had the chance to talk to Allie Beaver, who's the lead on this proposed gravel pit project, and she tells me they're doing everything by the book, following all safety and health guidelines.
So we're heavily regulated by the federal government. We come into an area, we actually are inspected twice a year by MSHA, which is the Mineral Health and Safety Administration.
Allie suggested we meet here at Katiwa Lake, which is one of their past gravel pit projects. What it is now is what they want their proposed gravel pit to eventually become at Potter's Bridge Park in 10 years, a lake for the community to use.
I actually grew up down the street from the proposed location. That's where my parents still live today. I rode my bike on those paths daily. So I understand how important this trail is and how much it means to the city of Noblesville. As the city of Noblesville grows, the parks need to grow as well. And that's really what we're trying to do here.
But Rachel and many others aren't convinced it's going to be a good thing for their community. And now their last hope against this project moving forward are their elected leaders.
When the council is thinking about rezoning something that's multifamily residential, if it is approved, it sets an awful precedent for the rest of the city of Noblesville.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
This issue won't go before Noblesville's Common Council until December as a zoning change request. The Common Council president tells us nothing about the plan has been presented to the council, and he's listening to both sides of the argument ahead of the December meeting. Metro Police are investigating a homicide on Longview Lane near Tibbs Avenue on the west side. Officers were called to the area at around 7:30 this evening on a report of a crash. They found a man in a vehicle with injuries not consistent with a car crash. He died at the scene. The case is the 200th homicide in Indianapolis this year alone. More than 160 of those have been ruled intentional. The former yearbook advisor at Brown County High School has resigned. The district says an investigation found Dr. Greg Mosley was responsible for a caption in the 2020 yearbook that referred to a student as Black Guy. Mosley's resignation from Brown County Schools comes 4 days after officials announced he would no longer serve as yearbook advisor and that he was suspended 2 weeks without pay. The pandemic is prompting more online shopping as we approach the holiday season. Unfortunately, that means online shopping scams are also growing. The Better Business Bureau is reporting a major increase in those scams, and they're easier to fall for than you think. John Edge was looking for some new tools when an ad popped up on an app. He paid $60 for a tool set and thought he was ordering from an Indiana-based company.
Check it and see about the company and It's all fake.
John learned that after he placed his order, the company's phone number is now disconnected and the Lafayette address listed does not exist. Working for you, we reached out to the Better Business Bureau for advice on how to spot these scams before it's too late.
You want to do your research, it's always good to go to bbb.org. You want to make certain that you look at the website, look for things like misspellings, grammar that just doesn't sound right. Also, in the URL bar, you want to make certain that it has the letters HTTPS. S is the important letter there. You want to make sure that it has S on there. And many times it will also have the lock icon. It looks like a little padlock.
If you do get scammed, the Better Business Bureau asks that you report it on the agency's Scam Tracker website. You can find a link to that by clicking on this story on our website, WRTV.com. Coming up, the COVID crisis is getting worse in many parts of the country. At least one major Midwest city is bringing back some restrictions, and a little later.
A polling station might focus on wheelchair accessibility, but forget the fact that there are people that can't see or can't hear.
Voters with disabilities could face extra hurdles when casting their ballots. Why advocates are encouraging you to know your rights. Indianapolis continues to invest in connecting the city through trails. Today, leaders celebrated the trail projects constructed this year. The Department of Public Works and Indy Parks say there were 11 major projects in 2020, including this one at the convergence of the Central Canal towpath and the Fall Creek Trail. The work totaled about $20 million. Mayor Joe Hogsett says the new and improved pathways come as there appears to be more interest in using them.
This also happens at a time when sales of bicycles have spiked to their highest levels in decades, and when more city residents are exploring their city on foot. Have you gotten your steps in today? These improvements, frankly, could not come at a better time.
You can find a full list of this year's trail and greenway projects by going to our website, WRTV.com, and clicking on this story. A fairly new but popular holiday tradition is not happening this year. Today, Indianapolis Motor Speedway announced it will not host Lights at the Brickyard in 2020. Officials say they made the decision to allow for end-of-season testing and track maintenance. Lights at the Brickyard first started in 2016. It's unclear if the display will return in 2021. I know this news of Lights out at the Brickyard is upsetting for a lot of people, Kevin.
It just means this, Amanda. You're going to have to go big with your display this year.
You got to make it as big as the
Make it a
Speedways.
destination. We'll do a drive-by and check out the Starantino lights. Check out some sunshine maybe tomorrow. That could be the brightest light of all, huh? Maybe some peaks at sunshine. I don't want to pick up your hopes too much and then have them dropped on the floor. Thursday, windy, wet, and very cool. 48 for the high. More on that rain in 1 second. Drying out on Friday. I'll just mention it right now. 6 out of the next 7 days will be dry. Thursday is the exception. Tomorrow, 43 degrees. We'll see a little window late morning, early afternoon where we may see some sunshine. Temperatures work their way into the middle to upper 50s. As I mentioned, today we moved from 43 in the morning to 47 in the afternoon. Temperatures move very little. That changes a bit tomorrow. National weather story will be the arrival of the 6th named storm to reach the coast of Louisiana this year. What will happen that once it makes landfall sometime tomorrow night near New Orleans, it curves to the north and east, but brings a lot of moisture to the north, and that combined with another weather system coming in from the west, there's one model's projections of rainfall potential, a good 1 to 2 inches from Terre Haute and Muncie south, with the higher amounts to the south. Then another forecast model lowers everything a bit, but still keeps it between 1 inch and 2 inches across the region. Don't forget our Storm Shield app is free, and it's good for all weather seasons, not just severe weather. I'll let this play out from tomorrow morning into Thursday morning, Thursday evening, and Thursday night, and then quickly we'll pack up and move away. So Friday will be drying out. That Thursday comes with the rain and a strong northeast wind gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour, and temperatures that once again go nowhere. They'll be stuck in the 40s. There's your weekend forecast. 56 Saturday with sunshine, 52 on Sunday, and we put it all together for you. And as I mentioned, Thursday's the only day with rain in the forecast right now. Halloween Saturday, full moon Saturday night, and we roll the clock back 1 hour as you go to bed Saturday night into Sunday. I'll start working on the schematics for your big light display, Amanda. Just let me know how many strands you might need.
All right, I'm definitely recruiting you for some help this year, Kevin. Tomorrow, state officials will give their weekly update on the pandemic in Indiana. In other parts of the U.S., some states and cities are rolling back reopening orders as the spread of COVID gets out of control. Today, the governor of Illinois banned indoor dining in Chicago. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez reports cases are rising in more than half the country.
The coronavirus spreading in this country at alarming levels, with an average of more than 73,000 new cases a day, more than any other week-long stretch since the pandemic began.
It is frustrating to me to see all these people that are really suffering through this disease and can't see their families.
The death toll climbing in 29 states, and the country now seeing its highest hospitalization numbers since August, with 44,000 COVID-19 patients now being cared for. While in Ohio, the governor says the number of hospitalized coronavirus patients is at an all-time high.
Sadly, the red tide of the virus continues to spread throughout Ohio. There's no escaping it.
In Wisconsin, where health officials announced the largest single-day increases in the number of new cases and deaths since the pandemic began, the governor urging people to stay at home.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. We are facing an urgent crisis, and there is an imminent risk to you.
The mayor of Newark, New Jersey, blaming a surge there on large gatherings.
With dancing and music and Halloween events that we've broken up that I've seen personally.
And White House Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx calling out residents not following safety protocols in North Dakota, where the COVID case rate per capita is higher than anywhere else in the country.
This is the least use of masks that we have seen in retail establishments.
Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
If you have not voted yet, make a plan before you head to the polls. Scripps reporter Stephanie Stone spoke to advocates who say that's especially important for people with disabilities.
Al Kovac has been there, as in he tried to vote and couldn't.
About 20 years ago, I went to cast a vote assuming that the place would be wheelchair accessible, and I was wrong. And I was basically denied my right to vote.
Fast forward to today, and he says we're still talking about polling and voting challenges for the disabled. Ever since that experience, he's opted for the mail-in ballot process, and this year, he's urging everyone to plan ahead.
Unfortunately, there's no ADA police that are going around and enforcing the law. So when it comes to, let's say, polling stations, if you go to a polling station and you can't get in, your only recourse is to go to the Department of Justice and file a complaint. But that doesn't help you get in that moment to cast your vote.
As if it weren't complicated enough, he's reminding everyone to be mindful of the COVID factor. The disabled are medically fragile, he says, and more susceptible to serious implications from the coronavirus.
We are seeing a lot of people calling us having trouble with voting. I know that in San Diego, we had someone who tried to vote last week and was unable to get inside the polling station. And we had another gentleman in Chicago who stood in line, or I should say sat in line in his wheelchair for hours, surrounded by people who were not socially distancing or wearing masks.
The U.S. Government Accountability Office sampled 178 polling places back in 2016 and found that 60% had impediments. Things like steep ramps, lack of signage, poor parking, or paths. Federal law requires that polling places be accessible to all voters.
Election officials need to comply with not only the Help America Vote Act that I mentioned, but also the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it is important to make sure that all Americans are able to vote independently and privately.
Ben Hovland is the chairman of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, which focuses on election administration and how elections are run around the country. He says elections officials everywhere are scrambling. Most everyone is adapting to COVID restrictions, which has forced big changes at the local level. He, like Kovac, is asking people to plan.
Record numbers of Americans will be voting by mail this year. And we know that, vote by mail has some challenges for certain Americans with disabilities. And so we've seen states implement portals that work with assistive technology. Certainly that's one thing. We've seen vote by mail ballots that utilize hole punches near the signature lines of the absentee ballot envelope.
A polling station might focus on wheelchair accessibility, but forget the fact that there are people that can't see or can't hear. And so I want to make sure that people with disabilities know that they can bring a friend with them to help them cast their vote. That is our right.
Kovac says there's a checklist on the Paralyzed Veterans of America website. Check out what's on that list. Check what works or won't work for you.
I wish I had done that 20 years ago.
And Hovland says make sure you research trusted sites from your state and local election officials, as we're getting close to deadlines for many areas. Get your facts so you can get your ballot, cast your vote, and make it count. I'm Stephanie Stone, reporting.
Temperature should jump about 16 degrees from morning low to afternoon high tomorrow. Lower 40s to upper 50s, and if we're lucky, a little bit of sunshine. The rain is arriving on Thursday. Amanda?
Get that umbrella ready. Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Good Morning Indiana starts at 4:30. Good night.